Most people think dementia begins with memory loss, forgetting names, missing appointments, or losing track of time. But what if I told you the first signs often show up in the way we speak? Before memory ever fades, the brain quietly starts to misfire in how it processes language. And here's the thing, these speech-related changes can start as early as 10 years before any formal diagnosis. You might not notice it at first. A loved one might use the wrong word and brush it off with a laugh. Or they may pause in the middle of a sentence, trying to find a word that just won't come. We chalk it up to aging or tiredness. But beneath those little moments might be the brain's early cry for help. And the most surprising part? The person going through it usually has no idea anything's wrong. That's why we need to pay attention, not just to what people forget, but how they express themselves. Because early detection gives us more time to act, more time to care, more time to protect the very essence of who someone is. So in this video, we're going to explore the hidden language of dementia, what to watch for, what it really means, and how you can be the first line of defense for someone you love, just by listening a little closer. If you're ready, let's begin. When we think of dementia, we often picture someone forgetting names, missing appointments, or getting lost on familiar streets. Memory loss is what we're taught to watch for, but the truth is, by the time memory fades, the brain has usually been changing for years, and one of the earliest, quietest changes? Language. Not just forgetting a word here and there, but how we speak, how we follow conversations, and even how we express emotion through our voice. These changes can start up to 10 years before a diagnosis, yet most of us, family, friends, even the person experiencing it, completely miss the signs. So today, we're not just talking about forgetting, we're talking about how dementia first shows up in our sentences, our silence, and the words we choose, without us even knowing. Let's look at 7 of the most telling early signs. 1. Saying the wrong words without realizing. Imagine looking at a microwave and confidently calling it a clock, or telling your dog, "Come here, jacket." That's not just forgetfulness, that's the brain's word retrieval system misfiring. In early dementia, the brain sometimes grabs the wrong word entirely, often one nearby in the brain's language file cabinet. These substitutions don't make sense, but the person speaks with full confidence. That's what makes it so hard to detect. Take Barbara, a retired 74-year-old government worker. One day, she started calling her cat table. At first, her family laughed, but then she began saying spoon when she meant tree or window instead of phone. A neurological assessment revealed early-stage semantic dementia, where the ability to link objects with their correct names breaks down. If someone close to you starts making strange word swaps, pay attention, especially if they don't even realize they've said something off. 2. Difficulty following conversations. We all zone out from time to time, but people with early dementia experience something deeper, a kind of cognitive overload during conversations. They struggle to track what's being said, especially in fast-paced group discussions. It's not about hearing, it's about processing. They may pause often, ask, "Wait, what did you say?" or nod without really understanding. Dave, 71, was once the life of dinner parties, but his wife noticed he became quieter, withdrawn. He no longer laughed at jokes or jumped into discussions. Eventually, he admitted it was exhausting trying to follow what everyone was saying. He'd forget what was just said seconds earlier. A doctor diagnosed him with mild cognitive impairment, a common precursor to dementia. So, if someone starts retreating from conversations they used to love, it might not be shyness. It could be the brain struggling to keep up. 3. Flat or emotional speech. Have you ever noticed someone talking about something joyful, like a grandchild's birthday, but their voice is flat, emotional, almost robotic? This isn't about how they feel, it's about how the brain expresses those feelings through speech. Dementia can affect regions responsible for emotional tone and vocal modulation. The result? a voice that loses its highs and lows. Lydia, a warm and lively 69-year-old grandmother, was famous for her expressive storytelling and hearty laughter, but her daughter noticed a shift. Whether discussing her favorite TV shows or a family celebration, her voice stayed neutral, flat, disconnected. Eventually, Lydia was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. Her voice had changed long before her memory did. If someone's voice no longer reflects their personality, listen closely. It could be more than just fatigue. 4. Frequently losing the train of thought. We all forget what we were saying from time to time, but when it happens often, starting a sentence, pausing, and saying, "Never mind, I forgot," it may be something more. This is about sequencing. In early dementia, the brain has trouble holding on to a linear thought. It's like trying to speak while standing on a shaky bridge. Ideas fall through the cracks. Max, 80, used to be an eloquent storyteller. But recently, he'd begin a story, then freeze mid-sentence. He'd shake his head, mutter, "I lost it," and stop. What looked like fatigue was actually his brain struggling to connect one thought to the next. He was later diagnosed with dementia. So, when someone keeps trailing off, don't assume it's nothing. Sometimes it's the brain quietly waving a red flag. 5. Repeating questions or phrases. Did I take my medicine? You answer, yes. 5 minutes later, did I take my medicine? This kind of repetition isn't manipulation. It's not them ignoring you. It's their brain failing to store short-term memory. Margaret, 67, started doing just that. Repeating questions, repeating phrases, even within. As dementia progresses, it doesn't just take away memories. It begins to quietly unravel the way we speak, one layer at a time. And unlike the more obvious signs, like forgetfulness or repeating questions, these deeper shifts in language often go unnoticed. They can sound like grammar mistakes. They can look like laziness. But underneath, they tell us something crucial, that the brain is no longer organizing thoughts the way it used to. So in this next part, we're going to explore 4 deeper, more subtle speech changes that can reveal early cognitive decline, long before more visible symptoms take hold. 1. Mixing up pronouns and verb tenses. She is my son. They go to the store yesterday. At first, it might sound like a joke, a slip of the tongue. But when it happens again and again, it's often not a joke, it's a sign. In early dementia, people can begin to lose the ability to structure language logically. Pronouns get scrambled, tenses get twisted. The brain knows what it wants to say, but the sentence comes out broken, like puzzle pieces in the wrong order. Carl was known for his quick wit and smooth conversation. But in his early 70s, his wife noticed strange changes. He'd say, "I go to church last week," or call his daughter he repeatedly in the same sentence. It wasn't that he didn't know who she was, it was that his brain could no longer match meaning with structure. When the grammar starts to break down, especially in someone who used to speak clearly, that's a signal we shouldn't ignore. 2. Struggling to find the right words. You know that feeling when a word is on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't grab it? Now imagine feeling that dozens of times a day. In early dementia, people begin to lose access to familiar vocabulary. They may know what an object is, how to use it, even what it looks like, but the word itself is locked away, just out of reach. To cope, they often use placeholders like "that thing," or describe it vaguely, like calling the refrigerator the cold box, or the TV the picture machine. Annabelle, a 66-year-old retired schoolteacher, started forgetting simple words when talking to her grandkids. "Put your juice in the cold thing," she said, pointing to the fridge. Her family laughed at first, but when it became a daily pattern, they grew concerned. Tests confirmed she was in the early stages of Alzheimer's. Word-finding problems aren't just frustrating, they're emotionally painful. Because the person knows what they want to say, they just can't say it. 3. Speaking in shorter, simpler sentences. Think of someone who used to describe a day in vivid detail. I went to the market, picked up fresh tomatoes, ran into my neighbor Linda, and then we grabbed coffee. Now that same person says, went out, got food, saw someone. The richness of language begins to fade. This happens because the brain, struggling to organize thoughts and grammar, begins to simplify everything. Sentences get shorter, details disappear. Emotion gets lost in translation. John, a 70-year-old retired journalist, was once a master storyteller. But slowly, his speech became robotic, choppy, stripped down to the bare minimum. His wife thought he was just tired, or maybe uninterested. But it wasn't that. It was his brain cutting corners, using fewer words to avoid the effort of forming full sentences. This kind of speech compression is often the brain's way of conserving energy when language processing becomes too demanding. If someone you know starts talking in short, vague bursts instead of full thoughts, listen closely. The words may be fewer, but they speak volumes. 4. Slurred or slowed speech. Not all speech changes come from the words themselves. Sometimes the way a person speaks too. They might sound mumbly, sluggish, or like they're slurring their words. And no, they're not just tired, and it's not always about hearing loss or medication. This can be the result of neuromuscular decline, where the brain begins to lose control over the muscles used for speech, the lips, tongue, vocal cords. Diana, 83, had always been clear, articulate, and sharp. But her family started noticing she was speaking more slowly. Her words became harder to understand, with long pauses between syllables. They assumed she was just aging naturally, but later she was diagnosed with vascular dementia, a condition that had been silently affecting both her cognition and her motor control. Speech that becomes slower, softer, or less clear shouldn't be brushed off. It may be the brain's way of waving a red flag. We often think of dementia as memory loss, but as you've seen, language tells its own story long before memories fade. What we've talked about today isn't just aging. It's not just getting older. These are warning signs from the brain itself, subtle, unsettling, and incredibly important. Dementia doesn't begin with forgetting someone's name. It often begins with the way we speak, the pauses, the word swaps, the silences. These early speech changes are not random. They're neurological red flags waving for attention. And here's something sobering. By the time dementia reaches its advanced stages, 93% of people don't survive more than 5 years. But that number doesn't have to define the future. Because if we catch the signs early, we have a chance to plan, a chance to support, a chance to protect the parts of our loved ones that make them who they are. So if anything in this video felt familiar, if you saw someone you love in these stories, don't brush it off. Talk to them, ask questions, get them evaluated. Because early detection isn't just helpful, it's everything. And if this video helped you see dementia differently, please like it. Leave a comment. Tell us your experience. Subscribe for more stories that could change lives. In our next episode, we'll uncover 4 more early dementia signs that even doctors sometimes overlook. Stay tuned. What you learn might just help save someone you love.